Okay, so we are in week 4, and this week we are going to be adding a lot of interactivity to our site. The first step you want to do is go through getting images ready for the web. In this section, I'm going to talk about downsizing images in Photoshop, creating thumbnails, and also, before we even get to that, just kind of looking at the folder structure that I have set up for you in this zip. So let's see, what do I say? In the attached video tutorial, set up a folder for week 4 and then download the zip and put that into your practice folder. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and make a practice folder. I don't think I've done yet. Oops, let's build week 4. I should say practice 4, but that's fine. And I'm going to minimize that, and now I'm going to get the zip ready. So this has a lot of images and a lot of folders that I just want to talk about. So gallery practice, and here I'm just going to select everything that's in that folder and move it to that folder I just made. So Control C, and paste it all into there. So now that it's here, let's take a look at it. I have a little preview of what we're going to make here. I have some script here. I'll talk about that later. But I have a CSS folder, and that's for the lightbox. I have an image folder, which is for the lightbox. It's actually like little buttons. I have an image FNL, image final, which is a bunch of stuff we're going to use. So for the rollover, I'll use this folder. For the remote rollover, I'll use this folder. For the image map, I'll use this folder. And there is a button folder in here, which I don't think we're going to get to, but that's okay. So if I go back, I also have a JPEG here that we're going to resize in Photoshop, and the preview, which I already mentioned. Oh, and the JS folder, that's for the lightbox as well. That's JavaScript. It's just a bunch of coding files. And the lightbox images, which are images for the lightbox we're going to create. So one thing I want to show you here in looking at it, because we're going to make a thumbnail soon in Photoshop, is I have 2 versions. Okay, I have the TH, which is the smaller one, and then the bubble, which is the full-size one. It's the big one. So here my thumbnails are actually just a kind of a snippet of the image. Same here, same here, same here. And the naming convention all relates to the image. It should make very clear what it is. Okay, so when you're getting all your JPEG set up for this week for a project where you have to use a lot of images, you need to have it organized in a way that makes sense. And I'll show you again in here. So in my rollover, it just makes perfect sense what it is. Okay, this is the roll, so I named it this in Photoshop. So it's a rollover. I know what it is. And then here's the other one. Okay, so the naming convention needs to make sense for you at least, and I'll show you how I use my naming convention as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start Dreamweaver. And we're going to set up our folder, or define our site, sorry. It's going to take a second. Okay, cancel. X out of here. And now I'm going to go Site, New Site. Again, defining our site. Call it Practice 4. And I'm just going to go ahead and locate that folder. Web Art Practice, Week 4. There we go. And everything should come up. There we go. I have everything there. Okay, so let's look at what we're going to make, and then we can talk about it together. All right, I'm going to preview this in the browser. Yeah. Okay, so this is the practice we're going to make. So this is a rollover. Okay, and when you download the file, you have this file as well, if you're just kind of curious about anything. There we go. There we go. This is a remote rollover. Okay, so if I scroll down here, the larger image pops up here. And you can see these thumbnails I made are the exact same image that shows up here. So it's a little different than the other thumbnail. So this is kind of like a small gallery. This is just a rollover behavior, which is some nice interaction. Down here, I have an image map, which basically we take one JPEG and cut it up into different sections. So I create like hotspots. Why is that guy riding a pig? And then this is the jQuery lightbox. This is another gallery that you could create. These are all pictures of people with bubbles on their head. Okay, and that thumbnail down here is a smaller version, a cropped version, sorry. So there's kind of two different ways you could make a thumbnail. Just a smaller version of the photograph or a cropped version. I kind of prefer the crop. All right, so let's get out of here, minimize this, and to get started, I'm going to close this, and what I'd like you to do, well, we'll do it together. Let's just create a new file. I'll call it practice. And we'll do it a little different today. We'll do a div ID container. Go ahead and close that. We probably won't get into much CSS with this practice, but it will just be good practice for us. But what I'd like you to do, because we're going to do 4 separate activities. We're going to do the rollover, remote rollover, image map, and jQuery plugin. Go ahead and create 3 divs, and you can even call it that. So I'll call this roll. And we'll kind of mix it up a little bit. I'll call this remote. So we'll just keep everything like a little separate. This is image map. And the last one, ID. This is important actually. You have to call this one gallery, which I'll explain later. Okay, so the next tutorial, I'm going to open up in Photoshop the Beach Boys, but we're all set here really to start doing stuff. Okay, So the Beach Boys little JPEG here, we'll open up in Photoshop and we'll resize it. All right, so let's save that and we'll be in Photoshop.